Hello friends, you need your Lemonade War book and your packet, so pause the video while you gather those materials. We're going to go over our homework from Chapter 9, read Chapter 10, and I'll explain the character profile page and your homework. Alright, so Chapter 9. The word we needed to define was negotiation, and the definition you should have written: a method of bargaining so that you can reach an agreement. Which character's perspective or point of view is this chapter told from? Chapter 9 was told from Evan's point of view, or that third person. Who is Grumpminster Fink? You should have said it was a made-up or imaginary character that Evan made who tried to do good things, but bad things always happen and ended up happening. Something along those lines. And number 4, why is Evan having second thoughts about the contest? In this chapter, it really focused on how much he misses Jessie. So that's why he's having second thoughts. He's like, I don't like being mad at her. We're wasting our last few days of summer. He's really mad at her. And he misses her. He's mad that he misses her too. So he's having second thoughts, like, maybe we can end it. How do the events relate? We might have said, because Evan tries to make a negotiation, we might have said that they don't relate. There's no relationship because there's no negotiation that actually happens. There's not a give and a take. It's really just Evan saying, do you want to? And he's like, nope, never mind. Calls it off. All right, so we are going to read Chapter 10. Read in Chapter 10. And then we will talk about the character profile and the homework. All right, Chapter 10. Malicious mischief is noun. The act of purposely destroying the property of someone else's business. Jessie was all in knots. Ooh, what kind of figure language would that be? Saying someone's in knots is an idiom. It's a commonly used phrase. My stomach is knots. Evan was madder than ever at her, and she couldn't figure out why. He had said, do you want to call off the war? And she had said, sure, let's call off the war. Or something like that. That's what she'd meant to say. That's what she wanted to say. Is that what she said, though? No, it's not. But what had she really said? She'd mentioned Megan. Oh, she'd almost spilled the beans about Megan giving her the $104. But she hadn't. She'd kept her mouth shut just in time. Jessie smiled, remembering that. So why had Evan acted like that? What was the matter with him? Jessie lay down on her bed. The world was a confusing place, and she needed Evan to help her figure it out. If this is what 4th grade was going to be like, she might as well just give up now. And there was something else that was tying her up in knots. That was $208. It wasn't really hers. Megan had given it to her to make a donation. She hadn't given it to Jessie the way Evan's friends had given their money to him. That still made her so mad when she thought about it. Oh, she wanted to get even with him for saying she didn't have friends. So even though it looked like she had $208 in her lockbox, only half of that money she could honestly call her own. Still, if push came to shove and she needed it all to win, she'd sure use it all. This was a war. But if she pretended that all that money was hers, hey, what if Evan has even more money than that? So if she lost even with Megan's money, gulp. Jessie hadn't thought of that. If she lost even with $208, if she lost, oh my gosh, winner takes all. She would lose all of Megan's money to Evan. How could Jessie explain that to her friend? You see, I took all the money you earned to help rescue animals, and I lost it to my brother, who's going to buy an iPod. Megan would hate her. All the girls who were friends with Megan would hate her, and Evan already hated her. So that was that. Goodbye, 4th grade. She couldn't use Megan's money to try to win the bet. It was too risky. But she did have enough money to win. But did she have enough money to win on her own? Jessie felt desperation rise in her throat. How much money did Evan have? She had to find out. Jessie tiptoed upstairs to the attic office. She listened at the closed door. Her mother was on the phone. Then Jessie snuck downstairs. Evan was watching TV in the family room. Like a whisper, she crept back upstairs and into Evan's room. There was a strict rule in the Tresky house. No one was allowed in anyone else's room without an express invitation. That was the term. It meant that Jessie had to say, "Evan, can I come into your room?" And Evan had to say yes before she put even one toe over the line. So even though Evan's door was wide open, just crossing the threshold was a direct violation that carried a fine of $1. But that was the least of Jessie's concerns. She snuck over to Evan's bookshelf and picked up a carved cedar box. Evan's chosen souvenir from the family summer vacation. The orange-red wood of the box had a scene etched into the top. A sailboat sailing past a lighthouse while gulls flew overhead. The words, "Bar Harbor, Maine," were painted in the sky. The box had brass hinges and a clever latch. What it didn't have was a lock. Jessie flipped open the lid, immediately smelling the spicy, sharp scent of the wood. She couldn't believe her eyes. Her hands started pawing through the bills. Dozens of them. There was a 10 and a bunch of 5s and more 1s than she could count. She sat on Evan's bed and quickly sorted the money out. Evan had $103.11. 89 cents less than she had. 89 cents. He could sell one lousy cup of lemonade tomorrow and beat her. And there was nothing she could do about it because she'd be at the beach. I can't let him win, though, she thought. I can't. She had gotten to the point where she couldn't even remember what had started the whole war. She couldn't remember why it had been so important to win in the first place. Now, she just had to win. She messed up the money and stuffed it back into the box. That night, in bed, she lay awake trying to think of some way to stop Evan from selling a single glass. Sometimes in the dark, dark thoughts come. Jessie had a very dark thought. The next morning was Sunday, and the rule in the Tresky house was that everyone could sleep in as late as he or she wanted. But Jessie awoke to the sound of the electric garage door opening. She sat up in bed and checked the clock. 8 a.m. Then she looked out her window just in time to see Evan pedaling away on his bike, his backpack on his back. She quickly dressed and hurried down to the kitchen. Her mom was making scrambled eggs and toast. "Hi, Jess. Want some?" she asked, pointing with her spatula at the pan of sizzling eggs. "No, thanks," said Jessie. "I washed your blue bathing suit last night. It's hanging in the basement. What time are the Moriartys picking you up?" 9 o'clock, said Jess. "Mom, where did Evan go?" "He went to the store to buy some lemonade." Jessie's mom scooped the eggs onto a plate and put the pan in the sink. When she turned on the faucet, the pan hissed like an angry snake. A great cloud of steam puffed into the air and then disappeared. "What's going on, Jess? What's with all the lemonade stands and you and Evan fighting?" Jessie opened the pantry cupboard and pulled out a box of Kicks. "Nothing," she said. She watched the cereal very carefully as she poured. She didn't want to look at her mother right then. Mrs. Tresky got the milk out of the refrigerator and put it on the counter next to Jessie's bowl. "It doesn't seem like nothing. It seems like there's a lot of bad feeling between the two of you." Jessie poured her milk slowly. "Evan's mad at me, and he's going to be a whole lot madder after today," she added in her head. "What's he mad about?" asked Mrs. Tresky. "I don't know. He called me a baby and said I ruin everything, and—" Jessie felt it coming. She tried to hold it back, but she knew it was coming. Her shoulders tightened up, her chest caved in, and her mouth opened in a howl. "He said he hates me!" Tears poured out of her eyes and dropped into her cereal bowl. Her nose started to run, and her lips quivered. With every sob, she let out a sound like tires squealing on a wet road. For the whole time Jessie cried, her mother wrapped her in a hug, and then, like a faucet, turned off. Jessie stopped. She had told the truth. She really didn't understand why Evan was so angry. Even before the lemonade war, he had been mad, and Jessie still didn't know why. "Better?" asked Mrs. Tresky. "Not much," said Jessie. She wiped her nose with her paper napkin and started eating her cereal. It was soggy, but thankfully not salty. "Don't you think it would be a good idea to find out what he's mad about?" asked Jessie's mom. You're never going to stop being mad at each other until you both understand what the other person is feeling. I guess so, said Jessie. It can be hard. Sometimes it's even hard to know what you're feeling yourself. I mean, how do you feel about him? Asked Mrs. Tresky. Jessie didn't have to think long. All the insults and anger, the confusion and fighting seemed to converge in a single flash of white-hot feeling. I hate him. I hate him for saying all those mean things, and for not letting me play. I hate him just as much as he hates me. More. Mrs. Tresky looked sad. Can we have a sit-down about this tonight, after you get back from the beach? No, said Jessie, remembering the spit bow. Evan would be mad if he knew she had worried Mom about their fighting, and then he'd spill the beans about the terrible thing she was about to do. Jessie didn't want her mom knowing anything about that. We'll work it out ourselves, Mom. I promise. Evan and I will talk tonight. I'm sorry I've been working so hard, said Mrs. Tresky. I know it's a lousy end to the summer. It's okay, Mom. You gotta work, right? Yes, no, I don't know. I promise I'll be finished by dinner time tonight. That way we can all go to the fireworks together. Jessie's mom looked out the window. I hope they don't get canceled because of weather. They're saying scattered thunderstorms this evening. Jessie and her mom finished breakfast without saying much else. I'll clean up, said Jessie. She liked to do dishes, and she wanted to do something nice for her mom. While she cleaned, she thought about the terrible plan she had come up with last night. It was mean. It was really mean. It was the meanest thing she had ever imagined doing. I'm not going to do it, she decided. I hate him, but I don't hate him that much. She was putting the last glass in the dishwasher when Evan walked in. His backpack was bulging. I thought you were going to the beach for the whole day, he said. Megan's picking me up in half an hour, she thought, till she saw Evan stiffen up. Good. What's in the backpack? Not much, he said, dumping out the contents onto the kitchen table. Cans of lemonade mix rolled all over. Jessie tried to count, but there were too many. 15? 20? Holy macaroni! How many cans did you buy? 32. Evan started to stack the cans in a pyramid. But you don't need that much. Even to win, you don't need that much. That's... She did the calculations in her head. That's 256 cups of lemonade. If you sell them at 50 cents a piece, $1. I'm going to charge $1 a piece. Jessie felt like her head was going to explode. You'll never sell it all, she said. There isn't a neighborhood in town that will buy 256 cups in one day. Too much lemonade. Not enough thirsty people, she thought. I'm going to roll, like the ice cream truck. I'm going to mix it all up in the big cooler and wagon it from street to street. The high today is going to be 94 degrees. It might take me all day, but I'll sell every last drop. 256 smackers. And then tonight, Juicy, we count our earnings. Don't forget, winner takes all. But you don't need $256 to win, she shouted. Evan stood tall and said in that gravelly voice that the boys imitated, I don't play to win, I play to pulverize. Oh, what an idiot. Jessie couldn't believe her brother could be such a jerk. She watched as Evan put together his rolling lemonade stand in the garage. The big cooler was something Mrs. Tresky had bought a few years back when she was in charge of refreshments for the school spring fling. It looked like a giant bongo drum with a screw off top and a spigot at the bottom. Evan loaded it into the wagon, then poured in the mix from all 32 cans. He used the garden hose to fill the cooler to the top, then dumped in 4 trays of ice cubes. With the plastic beach shovel, he stirred the lemonade. The ice cubes made a weird rattling noise as they swirled around the big drum. Using the shovel like a big spoon, he scooped out a tiny bit and tasted it. Perfect, he announced, screwing the top on tightly. Then he went into the basement to make his lemonade on wheels sign. Without a moment's hesitation, Jessie sprang into action. First, she got out a large Ziploc bag from the kitchen drawer, the kind that you could freeze a whole gallon of strawberries in if you wanted to. Then she held it, upside down and wide open, over the fruit bowl. She gave the bowl a solid knock. Jessie was surprised how easy it was to catch the fruit flies that floated up from the bowl. It was like they wanted to die. She filled that bag and 2 more with flies, then hurried to the garage. She unscrewed the top of the big cooler. Holding the first bag upside down, she unzipped it, expecting the flies to fall down into the lemonade. They didn't. They stayed safe and dry in the bag. It was like they wanted to live. Too bad for you, you stupid flies, said Jessie as she plunged the bag into the lemonade. Under the surface, she turned the bag inside out, swishing it back and forth so that all the flies were washed off into the lemonade. She emptied all 3 bags of flies into the big cooler, then hunted around until she found 2 green inchworms and a fuzzy gypsy moth caterpillar. She tossed them into the cooler. Then she threw in a fistful of dirt for good measure. She was just about to screw the top back on when she heard Evan coming up the basement stairs. There wasn't time to get the top back on. He would see the bugs, and the whole plan would be ruined. Jessie ran to the steps and shouted, "Evan, Mom wants to see you in her office. Right away." "Oh, man," muttered Evan as he started to climb the second set of stairs. Jessie quickly screwed on the cap, grabbed her blue bathing suit from the basement, then went upstairs to her room. On the way, she passed Evan coming down. "Mom did not want to see me," he said, annoyed. Jessie looked surprised. "That's what it sounded like. She yelled something down the stairs. I thought it was get Evan." Jessie shrugged. "So I got you." From the bedroom window, she watched Evan rolling down the street with his lemonade on wheel stand. He was like one of those old-time peddlers calling out, "Lemonade! Get your ice-cold lemonade here!" as he walked. For one lightning brief second, Jessie felt a stab of regret. She could see how hard he was straining to pull the heavy cooler. She knew what it was like to stand in the hot sun selling lemonade. But the feeling was snuffed out by the hurricane of anger she felt when she remembered Evan's gravelly voice, "Pulverize." Jessie switched into her bathing suit and packed up her beach bag, then said a quick goodbye to her mother as the Moriartys pulled into the driveway. "What a great day for the beach," said her mother. "Have fun, and be home in time for the fireworks, okay?" The fireworks. Yup. Jessie imagined there would be some fireworks tonight. Does she mean the actual 4th of July fireworks? Or not 4th of July, Memorial Day, Labor Day, that one, fireworks? No. Those are talking about fireworks kind of between her and Evan, right? When he blows up on her. Oh, man. All right. So, your homework for today is Chapter 10 questions, okay? What's the word and definition? Whose perspective? Identify an idiom used in this chapter. Write the sentence below as well as the page you found it on. What does it mean? So that one's got 3 parts, okay? Number 4. How do you feel about Jessie sneaking into Evan's room to find out how much money he had earned? Number 5. The Treskies have several household rules that they're supposed to follow. What are some rules in your own household? And 6. Describe how your opinion of Jessie has changed throughout the book. If it hasn't changed, explain why. Then, if we look at the next page, here's a chapter 10 with a character profile. On the front side, there's Jessie, and on the back side, there's Evan. You do not have to do both. You just have to do one. Okay, just Evan or just Jessie. But you're going to make a character profile for the character you pick. You're going to draw a picture of them. You're going to describe with words what he looks like and what he acts like, some of those character traits. Then what is something that Evan shows a character trait before, like at the start of the book? What's a character trait Evan shows instead of after the Lemonade War? Talk kind of about now, like either chapter 9 or 10. Okay? And then how does Evan change? How has he changed so far in the Lemonade War? How has he changed? All right. So the character profile, either one, and then the 6 questions for homework tonight. Thanks for joining. We'll read next time.